These are stories about my reluctant and courageous journey into understanding my emotions and what I learned. I'm super grateful for the questions you ask because they're guiding me on this fantastic adventure. This week's topic comes from Chris, who wanted to know how to find balance when things are hard. So this week's topic is about using humor to find balance when things are hard. In the first video, I talked about how I got through a time I recognized that things were hard. In the next video, I talked about a time when things were hard and I realized I could use humor. In fact, I think I talked a little bit about starting to use humor and my terrible or beautiful screw-ups as they were that taught me more. In this video, I'm focusing on a time I found it easy to shift into humor when things were hard. The next video will be the meditation, and then you'll get to see the Frittity or the Friday Ditty, where I pull it all together and I get a little more poetic and a little nerdy to make a sense of the journey. All the videos will appear in the playlist using humor to find balance when things are hard. So, if you have a question like Chris did, comment below or DM me on Instagram. I'm Angela, and this is me making sense of myself. So, how much easier did it get to shift into humor when things got hard? Well, at first, like I started talking about in yesterday's video, it was plain hard. I didn't know when I could crack a joke or when it would land well or sometimes even what to say. And at the beginning, I think that created some fear and some hesitation on my part because I didn't know. What I realized, though, was that I just needed to start practicing. Years and years ago. Now, this is before I got good. Well, better. I don't know if you can ever be perfect at using humor when things are hard, but at this particular time in my life, I was pregnant and took an improv class with my husband at the time. And what happened was, in this, I remember this particular moment where we were playing a game and it was like everybody came up with a word or a couple of words and we got down to the end of the line and somehow I became a big fat orange or something like that. And it was analogous or even metaphorical. I always get those words mixed up. But, I really was very pregnant and felt gigantic at the time. So the comedy worked. And I remember seeing fear on the person that was right next to me on their face going, oh no, I just set this up for a really, she will either like it or she will hate it, but the fear was, oh shoot, I just set this up for what could, if she takes it personally, she could, be very upset. But I didn't take it personally. In fact, I found great humor in it. And I remember that a long time ago on my podcast, Relatively Damaged, I got to interview my friend Emmett Short. And what he said was, if it wasn't funny, it'd just be true. And that's sad. At least I think that. Oh, I know I got it from him. Whether he was quoting someone else, I don't remember. But, sometimes it's pointing out the obvious. And we as humans, if you've ever read Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy, we do that a lot. The sun is up. The sky is blue. Oh, it's cloudy outside. We are always pointing out the obvious. So I think sometimes in humor, it's important to do that. And I think sometimes in, if things are hard or there's an argument or whatever's happening, sometimes the humor needs to be something totally off topic, not even in the room, if you will. Not that you leave the room, but something happens. And the comedy is about something that happened outside of the room. And it just releases that pressure enough that those hard emotions can dissipate. And I think that's really important. So I think that it's important to make it easier to shift into humor when things are hard. And I try to do that for myself first. In my mind and in how I'm processing things, it's really important for me to learn to find joy in some of my thought processes or some things that I do. And that can be easier said than done. Like, I'm even trying to, I love to laugh. So I think that part of it is I will recognize something that someone else might take very seriously, and I might joke about it for myself because, again, if it weren't funny, it'd just be true, and that's sad. So when did I know that using humor was helpful or needed? I think when did I really know? I was going to say I think I always knew, but I don't think I did. When did I consciously know to start using humor? I think it had been from a memory of someone else using humor in a stressful situation. I thought, you know what? That might be a good idea. Or it could have been that I watch a lot of comedy shows, or it could have been in a book that I read. I think there were many things that added up to me recognizing, oh, humor is helpful and needed in these moments. So probably a lot of it came down to practicing and almost study. I don't know if studying is the right word, but watching the shows and reading books that included that lightheartedness when things got hard. I think that those were teaching me. I just wasn't consciously aware. It's not like I went to the books. Now, I do have a funny story. When things were really hard in my life, I remember my friend Jackie telling me about laughter yoga. And I'm like, laughter yoga? What are you talking about? And it was just like this purposeful going around and laughing. And so there were different faces you could make in the laughter. There were different ways of laughing. In fact, recently, my friend and I have been using this comment. We like the show Resident Alien, and Alan Tudyk's character Harry frequently says, well, this is some BS, and so we'll just say that, or he will laugh a certain way, and we'll try to do that in the moment when things are stressful. So I think, just being aware, start looking for it, and I think you will find it. That's the great thing about how our brains work. When we start looking for something, we'll find it. So if we're looking for frustration and anger, we're going to find frustration and anger. If we're looking for things that are wrong, there's always going to be something wrong. If we're looking for something to laugh about, there'll always be something to laugh about. So I think that keeping that awareness that even though my brain only notices these things in this moment, because that's how our memories work, doesn't mean that humor didn't exist, and it doesn't mean that other things don't exist. So keeping that open mind is one of the most important skills I've learned in using humor. So I would love to hear from you how you used humor when life felt hard. These videos will be located in the playlist Using Humor to Find Balance When Things Are Hard. I'm Angela, and this is me making sense of myself.